I'd say my first real love would have been my first boyfriend here, which would be Lucas. This is the first time I was really recognizing, like, okay, this isn't puppy love. Like, this is what it means to truly care for a person. I think we were also just too young, also at the time. So, which is why, we're not together. We're friends now. But when I look back at how our relationship was, I can really see how we cared for one another, and he taught me a lot too. And I think that's when you know that, okay, this is a real relationship, is when you start learning things about yourself and about how to love another person. Because when you're young and you don't really care, and you just keep thinking like he gives me butterflies, and then months later another guy gives you butterflies, and then you're like, so I should be with this guy, which isn't the reality of it. Because throughout your life, there's always going to be somebody who will also give you butterflies. It's a matter of acting on it or not. I've had very bad luck with ex-girlfriends. There's always an ex who comes in the beginning and who tries to get the guy back, whether she has a boyfriend or not. And of course, whoever the guy is, because they have a past and a history with this girl and also loves the girl, it's hard for them to straight away just like choose me and like kind of remove her. My pride always at the beginning, it's quite high because I'm like, I'm not an option. That's always the hardest part, because it's always a battle with myself. Do I keep my pride up and walk away from this person? Or, it's hard because every time this happens, I'm always in a good state in my life. Like, I'm single and I'm fine being single and I don't want to date anyone. Then along comes this guy, and along comes this extra baggage. And those are the guys, for whatever reason, that in the beginning I fall hardest for. And then I'm like, he has to have like an ex-girlfriend. I know it. My curse is definitely ex-girlfriends. Okay, so we met right here. He was sitting there and I was sitting here. We're in his resort here in Siargao. I love telling this story. It's really funny. When I came to Siargao, I had just arrived a week before from the States. I was in the States for maybe 3 months, LA and New York. It was my first time in New York. And I got claustrophobic. I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on, but there's no nature. It's all buildings, except for Central Park. I had a great time in New York. It was my first time to travel, not work-related, and I was single then, and I kept thinking, okay, I'm gonna find myself. Yeah, no, you don't go and try and find yourself in New York. That's like the last place you go to. So when I was on the plane, coming back, I kept thinking, oh my gosh, I need to go to the beach. What happened in New York is not what I needed. I was invited by he's my second boyfriend. So my ex-boyfriend, their barkada and I stayed pretty close to them. I thought, okay, you know what? They have everything planned. I just have to book my ticket. So the last minute, I was still like debating if I should go. So I came to Siargao with them, and they like to day drink. They like to drink at like 11 in the morning. I, go to the beach to surf, to go run on the shore, to do yoga, to have me time. Kind of different vibe. So we were only supposed to be here 4 to 5 days. It was fun. I was doing what they were doing, then surfed a few times. But in my head, I was just like, what am I gonna do with my life? There is this thing that happened in New York with this guy. I'm like, I don't know what I want in life. All these questions. But I was having fun trying to figure myself out. And Nino will admit this now, but at the time he wouldn't admit it. We have a mutual friend. Her name is Danica. Her and her boyfriend were also in Siargao at the time with their baby. She messaged me and she's like, hey, you're on the island. Do you want to get together? So I told her, yeah, sure. We had never met, but we've always been complimenting each other on social media. So she told me, okay, let's have lunch in Bayud. We were supposed to meet on a Tuesday. And then I had to reschedule with her. I remember Tuesday, she messaged me. She's like, hey, for sure we're gonna meet tomorrow, right? Lunch. And I was like, yeah. Definitely I'll see you there. And she goes, okay, because I'm just making sure just so everything's prepared. And I'm thinking like, what does she have to prepare? Like, we're just gonna order food. And I'm thinking, is this like a mom thing? Like, I think her baby was only like 1 at the time. I was like, doesn't she breastfeed? Like, I didn't get it. I arrived a little later because I had surfed. And then when I arrived, I remember she was playing with her baby by the pool. And she's like, oh, Katya, we already ate because we eat early. And she's like, no, but I'll sit with you and I'll eat with you. And Nino was sitting at the cabecera seat. So he was there where I showed you. And then Danica was sitting here. And then I sat there. So I was a seat away. She's like, this is Nino. He's the owner. And I was like, hi. And I didn't know if I was supposed to call him Tito or Kuya. And all I could think was like, he was wearing shades at the time too. And I kept thinking like, this guy's a DILF. Like, you know what a DILF is, right? I wonder how many kids he has. Like, that's all that was going through my head. He was super like, we prepared food. And I was so hungry. The food arrives. It's shellfish. I'm allergic to shellfish. So I can't eat shellfish. And it's like all set up nicely. And I was so shy. And then he was like, oh, okay, take it away. He was like, okay, I'll order for you. And in my head, I'm like, I'm so gutom. Like, I just served for 3 hours. Like, she only stayed 20 minutes because she had to go home and put the baby to sleep. And she's like, do you want us to bring you home? And my food just arrived when she said this. And I was just like, I just want to eat. Like, that's all I want to do. And then Nino was like, oh, I can drop you. And I was just like, okay, Danica, he'll just drop me. I'll just eat and then we can hang out later. And he's like, okay. So I really think it was a whole plan. But then there were a few like influencers and celebrities staying in Bayud at the time because there was an event. And they'd all come by while him and I were talking. And I would always listen to hear what they would refer to him as. Because I didn't know what to call him. Because it seemed like everyone just kept saying his first name. So I just didn't put a Kuya or a Tito. And I'm so thankful because he was like, if you did, then he wouldn't have reached out. Like, he wouldn't have made any move. He would have just been like, okay, I just got like shot down. But we started talking because of Leo, his lab. He was like, oh, I have one kid. And he meant Leo. So he had Leo brought out. And then I got it that he didn't have kids, has never been married. And then I have a lab too, a chocolate lab. But he's my dog with my ex. And he stays with my ex now. And at the time, my ex didn't know if he wanted to keep him. So I was looking for an owner. So how Nino and I started talking was, I was like, do you want my lab? And he was like, what do you mean? I'm like, I really love this dog, but my ex can't keep him. He can't live with me because I live in a condo. Do you want another lab? And then Nino was like, can I see him? So I showed him. He's like, oh, I'll think about it. And I think he was just saying that to like keep the conversation going. This is when the conversation got really interesting. When he asked me what I thought about Siargao, I didn't get the hype because my ex before Nino, the one who I shared a dog with, his name's Anthony. He's my favorite ex-boyfriend because he was such a great guy. I had this like negative feeling towards Siargao because when we first started dating, Anthony and I, and when we did get together, he would come to Siargao a lot with his barkada. And the ex would be there sometimes. And I didn't understand when he said there's no signal. He's not replying. The ex is there. They're staying in the same, like, a resort. I'm, like, having all these things going through my head. And I'm just like, screw Siargao. I don't want any part of it. They used to come here all the time. And he would always come back and be like, Siargao is like so amazing. It's so magical. Like something happened to me while I was there. So when I got here, I was like, what were they talking about? Like, I don't get it. I'm like, for sure they must have been like tripping or something. Nino asked me what I thought. I really just replied to him, it's okay. And then he was like, this is when he finally took his sunglasses off. And he was like, what? It's just okay? I'm like, yeah, it's beautiful, but, and he's like, who are you here with? I'm like, I'm here with my friends. I told you that. He's like, no, 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 no. You have to extend. You have to extend. I have to show you the island the right way. He was really affected by my answer. My friends had left a couple days later, and Nino had invited me to stay in Bayud. He dropped me to my Airbnb, and then he left one of his guys and their motorbikes with me. So I had a driver and a motorbike to myself when I got back to my friends. He's like, just use them the whole night. I was like, wow, this is a really nice guy. And I think that was also his way. So we exchanged numbers. He was like, so are you going to extend? And then I told him, can you help me find a place to stay? Mind you, earlier that day, he was telling me that Bayud was fully booked. And then he was like, no, you can stay in Bayud. I'm like, but you told me it's fully booked. And he goes, you'll stay in Bayud, period. Ended up moving to Bayud. I had my own room. There's aircon, nice shower, because the Airbnb we had no aircon. We had to use a tabo to shower, which is fine. But it was nice to be in a nice room. When I'm talking to you, this is what I get to look at. I really thought he just wanted me to post for him. I didn't think that we would spend so much time together. And I was like, wow, this guy is very hands-on with the people he invites to stay, to the point that he flew back with me to Manila and dropped me to my house. I was like, I think this is more than just being a good host at this point. There's all these instances where I thought he was gonna kiss me, but I was never sure because he's the oldest guy I've ever dated. Usually they're about my age, which I'm 27. I mean, he's not that old. He's 36. And the style of courtship's different. There was a time we were in the mangroves and we were paddle boarding, just us two. And I was like, is he gonna kiss me? Because he kept coming closer. And then, he just come closer and closer. And then I'm like, oh my God, I think he's gonna kiss me. And then he wouldn't. Then there's another time we were in a beach area. No one was there and we were swimming. And all of a sudden, I feel a hand grab my foot and pull me closer. And I was like, oh my God, he's gonna kiss me. What's going on? And then he didn't do it. Whatever he did, it worked. And he did admit that he talked to her friend Danica and was like, hey, this girl's here. Can you invite her over? This was July 2018. We had a period where we didn't talk because they're the dark ages. From August till December. Then I kind of dated someone else. Since that girl was here, I was like, I don't want to be part of this. I was just not into him after the ex came back because it's happened so many times. I was just like, I don't want to be part of this again. I've done it too many times and it's ruined my relationship with all of the guys I dated before. Nino and I started talking while I was still in China in Miss World, more consistently. He was thinking or congratulating me, and then I came to Siargao when I came back from Miss World. That was the first thing I did, not because of him, just because it just felt right to come back after experiencing what I experienced. Nothing really happened between him and I again till maybe I'd say January, but we were hanging out in December, and then he asked me on July 10th of last year to be his girlfriend.